I'm right next to you. I'm right next to you.
That's the thing. He
I'm
can't
right
touch
next
me.
to you.
He can't.
I can do whatever the hell I want.
He can't do.
Here. What's going on? How you doing?
Guys, seriously, no, let's not be.
He's like a foot shorter than me.
Hang on.
He's like a foot shorter than me. You're a bitch. You're a bitch. You kill children. You just admitted to it. You kill children. You order children to be killed. You know what? Most people would beat your ass in America.
All right, things got ugly there. So on the one side was a dude named DefNoodles, because that's where we are as a country. And he was actually, I think, relatively the good guy, although he did start it a little bit there. We'll discuss who's right and wrong in a second. His real name is Dennis Fiotza. He's a YouTuber turned Republican candidate. The other guy is a former IDF officer, the little feller, Yoseph Haddad. And he continued to provoke both inside the studio and outside the studio. I'm worried about where this is headed, but we're gonna show you more from this crazy fight and talk about why we're worried about it. Elliot.
Yeah, and if you're like me and you had no idea who DefNoodles is, he was a popular pop culture and influencer drama content creator, but due to controversy involving clashes he had with other creators, along with the disastrous attempt at being a stand-up comedian and maybe some erratic online behavior, he eventually took his channels offline. However, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, he's making headlines recently after a video was released of Fiotza getting into a physical altercation with Israeli advocate Yoseph Haddad. Per Jewish publication Forward.com, Fiotza, who unsuccessfully ran as a Republican for California's 30th congressional district, was one of 10 anti-Israel activists scheduled to debate Haddad for an episode of the Digital Social Hour, a long-form podcast that features unfiltered conversations with controversial figures. Haddad is one of Israel's most prominent advocates and among the small minority of Arab citizens who voluntarily served in the Israel Defense Forces. Freudian slip. Born in Haifa and raised in Nazareth, Haddad is a Palestinian Arab citizen of Israel who identifies strongly as Israeli. Since the beginning of Israel's genocidal war on Gaza, Haddad has traveled internationally defending Israeli policies, challenging accusations of apartheid and genocide, and campaigning against the BDS movement and other forms of Palestine solidarity. So despite running as a Republican, Fiotza has expressed extreme opposition to Israel's actions in Gaza. And as you saw in that cold open, Fiotza was really getting into it with Haddad, calling him a quote, genocidal effing freak who's killed children. But after the filming, the fighting also escalated and got even more physical outside.
Genocidal freak? You bombed kids and you need two people to hold me back.
Trying to fight you, idiot.
Stop, come on.
That's your husband, right?
That's your husband stuffing rocks in his
Get
fist.
away from my face.
Stop. That's your husband. That's it. Look at this guy, stuffing rocks in his fist. If he hits me, you too. Stop. Hey.
Now, obviously, no one here at TYT condones violence of any kind, and also the debate has not been posted online yet. However, the two have shared basically diametrically opposed versions on the altercation online.
If you watch this show for 5 minutes, you know how we feel about systems built to confuse people so someone else can profit. Medicare is the same kind of maze, whether you're on it now or helping a parent through it. And before the comments start, don't you guys want Medicare for all? Why promote a private company? Well, until we get the system we actually want, which is definitely Medicare for all, people still have to survive on the one we've got right now. And most people helping them get paid more to steer them wrong. Same rigged incentive we cover here every day. That's why we work with Chapter, independent Medicare advisors who are honest, not paid to push one plan over another. They're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide completely free. Take Chip, a member of our audience. His old broker milked him for commissions. He called Chapter instead, found a better plan, and now saves over $100 a month. And if you're already on the best plan for you, Chapter will tell you straight, no upsell. Get help against the rigged system. Call Chapter for free under 20 minutes at 805-201-2275. That's 805-201-2275.
So Yoseph wrote on X, I was attacked by a groyper in the US. He just didn't realize he had picked a Golani soldier. I came today to take part in a film debate against a group of anti-Israel activists, with the person debating me constantly changing. At one point, a man who was clearly a groyper came up against me. Even in the studio, he started cursing and turning the argument into a physical confrontation. After the filming, in the parking lot, he managed to attack me from behind, but very quickly, he realized that he effed up, because when it comes to anti-Israel attacks, we don't stay silent. He picked the wrong guy. This isn't anything new. When they can't win a verbal debate, they turn to physical confrontation, which they lose as well. Now, Feitosa was not holding back either in person or online. He said this self-admitted child killer hid behind his security, and now he's desperately trying to spin the confrontation as some courageous stand. This after spending hours lecturing Americans on why he believes he's morally justified in bombing schools. This is the IDF. This is Zionism. They demand America's money, America's weapons, and America's loyalty, then treat Americans with contempt for daring to question them. They don't respect America, and they don't respect you. Feitosa also uploaded a video to his reestablished YouTube channel to explain in more depth his interpretation of the events. First, he explained the lead up to his debate with Haddad.
This guy had already spent pretty much 3 hours debating other people before he got to me. I think there were about 10 other people who debated him. I was one of the last. I was supposed to be the last, but somebody else ended up going up after me. And needless to say, for 3 hours, this man was basically screaming at everybody he spoke to. The level of disrespect is something I have never witnessed myself firsthand until I saw this man talking to my fellow Americans about why we should support Israel unconditionally. In fact, one of the topics that kept coming up was whether the IDF is justified in bombing schools. And across the board, whenever somebody challenged him on this, he verbally abused them in a way that was relatively unsettling. He called them Nazis, he cursed them out. At certain points, he refused to even look people in the face and would only address the host of the show, who was sitting off to the side. He would scream and curse at people sitting in the background. Overall, it was an extremely toxic and abusive environment. He would very often engage in what I'm describing as fighting words.
But after an already heated start to their debate, things escalated after Feitosa asked Haddad if he ordered strikes on schools during his time as an IDF commander.
I heard him mention earlier in another debate that he was an IDF soldier. So I asked him, how many people did you kill in the IDF? Did you give orders to kill people? And if I remember this accurately, he said yes, or something to that effect. Finally, I asked him whether he had ordered a strike on a school. Again, he puts his head down, avoids answering, and deflects. And at that moment, I'm like, in my head, oh man, this guy definitely ordered a bomb on a school. So I start laying into him, and he gets pissed off. And that escalates the language he was using even further, because now he's not just using what I would describe as fighting words. Now he has an emotional reason to push it even further. He's pissed off, and that's when things escalate to the next level. At which point I'm like, okay, bet. I get up, take off my jacket, walk over and put my arm around his shoulder. And from there, things went off the rails. I have my own opinion about what happened, and obviously I was walking a very fine line in that situation, but people are going to watch the footage and interpret it differently. The internet is already extremely divided over who instigated this and who didn't. I believe he was instigating based on everything that happened beforehand. I believe this was the outcome he wanted, because as we've seen, this is the kind of stuff he does. He's a rage baiter, he's a provocateur. He goes around the world instigating confrontations and then paints himself as a victim afterwards. That's his whole shtick.
So Feitosa there is referring to Haddad's decision to counter-protest the pro-Palestinian protests, which led to one protester punching Haddad, leading to the arrest of another protester who didn't touch Haddad. And Haddad has also allegedly harassed Palestinian students at Tel Aviv University and called for their expulsion. Feitosa stated he's not claiming to be the victim in this situation, and Haddad stated on X he has filed a police report against Feitosa. No arrests seemingly have been made yet, and again, the full debate has not been uploaded yet, so we do not know the full context of this situation. Cenk, there's a lot to unpack here. On one side, you have the battle of the dorks. On the other side, you have the substance of the actual argument. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna start in a funny place. So he's an Arab Israeli, but you see how culture is so dominant. So it's not about religion by definition, right? He's not Jewish. I don't know if he has a religion, but he's Arab. But he lives inside Israeli culture, and he has adopted it 100%. So he feels entitled to say anything he wants. He feels apparently entitled to kill kids and thinks that's perfectly normal and they had it coming. And he feels entitled to instigate, and then if you strike back, to cry as victim, which is Israel 101, right? I'm gonna push you and push you and push you, and then if you push back a little bit, oh, I'm a victim, right? So that's very classic. But at the end of the day, in this particular case, from my view of those videos that we just watched, I think Feitosa is the one who got physical first, and that's wrong. Don't do that. Number one, you're giving him what he wants, and that's dumb strategy, right? Number two, it's not the right thing to do. That's more important, right? Because being physical isn't gonna solve any of this. And you think the Israelis mind being physical? They're gonna go for an unfair advantage immediately and then brag about it. That's literally what happened there. I mean, he's like, oh, he messed with a Golani soldier. Bro, there was 3 of you, right? So he goads you, you fall for it, and then 3 of them tackle you. So what did you gain out of that? Again, strategically and morally, it's the wrong thing to do. So in terms of like who's right about the debate, that's not close. Of course Feitosa is right. Like, oh yeah, we should give all our money to Israel to kill kids. How is that a debate? That's why Haddad has to try to rage bait people and try to distract people and say, oh, it's all your fault and we're the victim. And if you noticed, I mean, I watched all the tapes outside. He's constantly calling DefNoodles, and it sounds funny every time. Sorry, I mean, and I got a funny name, so it doesn't like Glass House. But anyways, he's constantly calling him a neo-Nazi. So if you don't agree with Israel, you're a neo-Nazi, right? And so, but guys, don't give them what they want. So don't make it physical, because then everything's gonna devolve. And by the way, one last part of that, if you do that, what they're gonna do is they're gonna go cry to mommy, which is the FBI and the US government and the cops, and then they're gonna do a surveillance state and crack down on all of us, and they're gonna go to direct oppression because, oh my God, I don't feel safe. And in that case, if you're touching them, that's true. Don't do that, right? Elliot, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both just like self-interested dorks. Again, I think this is influencer culture, and I can agree with DefNoodles in terms of maybe his policy on Israel. What I disagree with, I think, is the values informing that policy. This seems like an effort to go viral and an effort to increase engagement. And I don't know what good that does when it comes to the genocide in Gaza, when it comes to the apartheid state of Israel, to use that as a way to bolster yourself. So I don't think either of them are in the right here. I don't think that, bracketing off the Israel issue, I think DefNoodles, from what I understand, I'm pretty much diametrically opposed to him politically, but at the end of the day, I don't want to see this at all. Like, this is just a couple boys trying to have a tussle and see how many eyeballs they can get on them, rather than the actual issues that are important, that are still ongoing right now. So
yeah, and of course, at the end of the day, the most important thing is the genocide. There's over 76,000 dead there, and that's what Haddad is bragging about. And he doesn't even have the decency to feel any kind of guilt or compunction over it.
And it does show too that there is a bipartisan kind of through line as well with the issue of Israel, especially like with younger generations. And I'm very curious to see how that transpires over the coming years, because I don't know that can be put in the bottle right now. And that, I think, also shows how atrocious Israel's actions have been, that people who I completely disagree with and people who I am aligned with all agree on Israel, so long as we're not 85 years old.
Yes, and plus Haddad's a sellout bitch. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.